Good evening, everyone. Do what the will shall be the whole of the law, and welcome to Thelema After Tears. As you know, I don't really keep like a weekly schedule with these things. I like to just keep it more, like more relevant. Like something I really don't like about this idea of content creation, which is sadly so popular nowadays, is that you have to do it every week or every day. If you don't do that, you're not relevant anymore. The algorithm doesn't like you. Well, you know what? I'm clearly not doing this right? But I just pop on here on live stream whenever I think there's something to discuss. Before discussing tonight's topic, which, as you might have noticed from the very clickbaity thumbnail, is that everyone now hates Thelema. A little bit of housekeeping. First of all, hello everyone. I see all of you in the chat. There is a little poll that I'm running on the chat right now. Apparently I can do that now, and I'm asking if you're interested in joining. If you've ever been interested, if you're interested right now in joining a magical order. Yes, no, depends. Right now it's quite even between yes and depends. We'll elaborate that later on. As I said, housekeeping. First of all, this channel has been growing. Thank you all for doing that. And apparently, I have to remind you all that if you want to support me, you can do it. There is you can become like a member of the channel for 99 cents a month, which is, I think, decent. It just goes on to support whatever I do, not just here on YouTube, in general. Of course, there's still super thanks, super chats, super stickers, all that kind of stuff. Thank you for all the support I keep on receiving. I never thought that would happen. It keeps on happening. Thank you all. Of course, I'm also my main community is still on Patreon, despite Patreon being pain in the ass as a system, as a platform. Still, we've been doing a lot of good work there. 2 years and running. 3 years. I started it 3 years ago, but the community really came together 2 years ago. We just finished the 7 months Arbatel operation, which has been really, really interesting. This was something that I did do on my own before. 2 times, and then this time I just ran it with the community, and it's been a fantastic experience. We just wrapped it up a few weeks ago, and we had a very nice discussion, like a roundtable discussion about what's been like to dip into the waters of evocation and conjuration magic, which I personally believe it's where magic gets more interesting, and it's something that you should get there with a sort of preparation, right? I don't believe you can just read a grimoire and things will happen. I think you must really get to the point where you can conjure spirits. On that note, on this coming Tuesday next week, I will interview Jason Miller on his new books, Consorting with Spirits, which is fantastic. It's really a great book on what it's like. First of all, embracing a spirit model for magic, which is where I am. I guess myself, I position between the spirit and the energy model. I pretty much embrace them both. But definitely, Jason's book, it's a great book that will tell you what it's like, to entertain the idea that spirits exist, and spirits are not just something that are in our heads. They're not just like part of our psyche, but are in fact beings, entities, we would say people, that are not, they just don't have a body, and they don't have a physical body like we do, and what it means to consort with those spirits. So yes, if you're interested in hearing that discussion live, you can join us on Patreon. The public podcast will be out on all the various platforms, Spotify and YouTube mostly, by the end of the month. One more thing before we go into tonight's discussion. I'm just going to show you the test run of the tarot of the Holy Season. Now, the Tarot of the Holy Season is a fantastic set of, well, of course, of tarot, major arcana only. These were all paintings that were done by Jessica Ciucci, which is a member of my Patreon community and the person that share my life. so she is definitely a very dear person to me, and she's also a fantastic artist. And over the last few during the times of the last Thelemic Holy Season, which is the time that goes between the 19th of March and the 10th of April, which is like the last day of the reception of the Book of the Law. Well, there's a series of readings that you can do every day, and all these readings are based on either entire books or chapters of the Holy Books of Thelema, and they pretty much map out the paths of the Tree of Life. And of course, the paths of the Tree of Life map out the Tarot, right? The major arcana. And so Jessica did a fantastic job. Like each day she painted pretty much like her visions, reading this the Holy Books of Thelema, and well, we just put them into tarot form right now. I still don't know how they will be released. There's still a lot of work to be done. Like there is like a little bit of writing to be done by Jessica about like her experience of what it's like to be inspired to do such a work. But you will be the first to know when this tarot is ready. I don't know what we will do with it. If it will be for purchase, if it will be on a website, I don't know. We tested these cards with Game Crafter. They're really nice. I don't particularly like you can see there's a bit of now you cannot really see it, but there's a little bit of a texture that I really don't like. But I think we will see. We'll see what happens next. What else? I guess that's it. That's it for the housekeeping. Now, on to tonight's topic. So, let me see the chat as usual. Somebody, well, let's go straight ahead. So, everybody hates Thelema now. And there's Bite of Anubis that is saying in the chat, well, everybody hates Thelema are the same people that think it means do whatever you want, which couldn't be further from the truth. We discussed this before many times. Of course, Thelema doesn't mean do what you want. In the previous live stream, we discussed what it means. You know, if you can even begin with true will, you can't. What true will means, so what Thelema means. Of course, Thelema doesn't mean do whatever the fuck you want. Still, what's been happening in the last month or so after the recent fallout that I discussed in the previous live stream, which is a video you can go watch here on the channel if you haven't done already. What happened is that I noticed, I really noticed as a change in trends, right? And that is that in the last 2 years, during the pandemic, there has been this massive, a lot of people discovered magic. A lot of people discovered witchcraft. A lot of people discovered tarot. A lot of people discovered ceremonial magic. A lot of people discovered Thelema. We spent 2 years locked in our homes, more or less, and of course that means that we all spent a lot of time engaging with these practices, with these readings, and for a lot of you who were new to this, right? We were new to the occult milieu, to the esoteric scene. It sounds strange to speak like that. A lot of you, I guess you all thought that this would be almost like a safe oasis, because it was the way most of you discovered it. Magic, the occult, Thelema, witchcraft, was a way to make sense of the traumas we were all experiencing. We're all still experiencing it, right? COVID is still with us. The lockdowns are over. There is possibly the World War III looming and a global recession that made us all poor. So it is what it is, right? Well, the trauma is still with us. What's not there with us anymore is the fact that that sense of like safe oasis that you could have you thought you could have found in these practices and in these communities. I think that sense of oasis, safe oasis can still be found in the practices. I mean, I would say that's why we do these practices. I think we do magic to evolve. We do magic to understand who we are and our relationship with with God, whatever we decide to understand God to be, or gods, or the divine, whatever you want to call it. And I still think that all of this can bring us solace in times of trauma. Unfortunately, you all discovering that the communities that forms around these practices are very toxic. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to tell you, it's always been like this. It's nothing new, and it will only get worse because I really I've been dealing with magic community for maybe like 20, I would say 20 years, because I started doing magic in the mid 90s probably, but it wasn't really till the early noughties that I started getting involved with magic communities. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a bit earlier with the Barbalith forums, alt.magic, Usenet, and then IRC chats. But I would say it's always been bad. There's always been infighting. There's always been prominent personalities that rose to a certain level of popularity or notoriety, and then they got teared down, and then you get people bickering with each other. It's always been like this. Hello, Justin. There's Justin from Esoterica here. Hello. By the way, if you don't know the Esoterica channel, you should go over there. It's one of the best resources online on the academic understanding of magic, religion, and everything esoteric. And it's funny because I was discussing with Dr. Sledge recently about the fact that yes, I mean every community has this sort of infighting and bickering and clashes of personalities. Well, one of the problems of Thelema is that we bear the stigma of Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley is not a liked person. It's like we might like Crowley, we might understand his multifaceted personality, we might understand that he wrote beautiful things and horrible things, and we might justly criticize him for all the horrible things he's done to the people that came into his life. The reality there is that out there, most people don't do that. Most people will see Thelema and just say Thelema cannot be divorced by Crowley. As you might know by now, I completely disagree. And so all Thelemites are just, Crowley's 2.0, and so they're all bad. This will happen. I mean, if you're a Thelemite, if you're interested in Thelema, you gotta accept this is what it is. We all of us, we're working to change this perspective, but I don't think it's gonna happen in our lifetime. Unfortunately. I mean, I'm 44 in a few weeks. How long do I have left? I mean, maybe 40 years if I'm lucky. I don't think I will see a substantial change in how the world perceived Thelema in my lifetime. We can set up, build the blocks to make sure that as time passes, there's better understanding of what Thelema really is about, better understanding of Crowley's personality, fully embracing the idea of leaving Crowley behind in the sense of not completely obsessing over identity with the founder, with the prophet, with all this, with the charismatic personality. I argue many times that Thelema is about doing your will. And again, this should be obvious for everybody who actually read the thing. And that means not doing not parroting Crowley, not becoming Crowley 2.0. So that said, what I would like also you to understand and accept, because again, as it stands right now, there's nothing we can do. Accept the fact that some of the worst critics of Thelema in the months and years to come will be people from the occult community. If if the non-esoterically inclined person will think of, maybe will go as far as of think of Thelema as a den of pedophiles because they read some terrible QAnon like screed online. The people in the esoteric community really, really dislike Thelema because they just mock everything we do. If you speak with people in the Golden Dawn, Thelema gets everything wrong because all the rituals are being perverted, and Crowley was never truly initiated into the second order, so he could never really understand all the formula of Lux and the vault of the Adepti and everything that comes beyond. So everything everything that Thelema is based upon, it's all nonsense. If you speak with Hermeticists, it's pretty much the same. If you speak with grimoire purists, they will tell you that Crowley never understood the PGM, never understood why, the use of the acephalous rite, or the bornless one, headless one, whatever you call it, and his translation of the Goetia or Goetia, that he pretty much took from mothers. It's completely wrong. So everything is pointless. If you speak with witches of various denominations, all the Thelemites are chauvinist pigs because Crowley was a chauvinist pig. The point that I'm making here is that this is nothing new. We lived 2 years during the lockdown where everybody was on their best behavior. And so a lot of people are not making these comments out loud. Maybe some of them will still think about it, but everybody was living through such intense trauma that I noticed that everybody was on their best behavior. That is gone. So just be ready that you will see criticism coming against Thelema from all sides. What can we do? Because I think there's something we can do, as I briefly mentioned before. Well, first and foremost, I think that everybody who identifies as a Thelemite, first of all, you have something to do in front of you, which is striving towards finding your true will. That means maybe don't worry too much about these things, right? Don't worry too much about all the various online fighting that goes on. Some of you will say, Marco, what are you talking about? You're almost the first person that is always at the center of some sort of drama. That's something because that's something that I have to do, right? I feel that I have a lot of Mars in my life. I'm a Gemini, and as well, that never helps. So I think that one of the reasons, I don't want to say if you want to put it on my true will is, which is always something I really don't like to say out loud because it sounds so pretentious. But let's say that I'm very comfortable with being a little bit of a lightning rod. Maybe you aren't, and maybe the best way for you to be a Thelemite is just maybe divorce yourself from all of this. Just keep on trying finding your true will. Become familiar with Thelema, become familiar with the holy books, which is where Thelema lies. Thelema doesn't lie in reading all of John St. John on the equinox. It's very useful. But as well, Thelema doesn't lie maybe in old Crowley's diaries. Thelema lies in the holy books of Thelema. Liber Alba Legis first and foremost, and then the rest. Become familiar with those. One of the tasks in the AA is to learn this text by heart, by memory. It's a very rewarding practice. Oftentimes I'm asked, so what are the practices of Thelema? Well, there is a lot of art of memory involved. And I think that it's important because by committing things to memory, you really try to get to the very heart of the message that is being transmitted to you. So I would say that's the first thing we should do. The other thing, and I was discussing this yesterday on Twitter, we need to get to a point where we can live behind all the discourse around the commentary of Liber Al, right? I really believe that, the commentary of Liber Al, as it's given, like the new comment, which it's the famous comment that starts by saying, "Do what thou will shall be the whole of the law," and finishes by saying, "Thou hast no right by do thou will," and then it goes by telling what you shouldn't do, like you shouldn't discuss this book, you should burn this book, etc., etc. Well, you should destroy this book. It doesn't say burn. You should destroy this book, etc., etc., etc. I think that comment really is an intelligent test, like to say, well, we've been telling you that you should do your will, you should discover your true will, and then let's see if you fall by me telling you what to do. If anything, I believe that the Book of the Law should be discussed constantly. Like, we should constantly have a discussion about our central text. Now, I also said recently that I personally think that hermeneutics can be pointless, especially when the main message of Thelema is doing, right? Do what I will, start with do. And so doing in the sense of engaging with magic, engaging with practice, spiritual practice, mystical practice. I believe that's what's really needed in order to come to those understanding that will help you, unpack the message of the Book of the Law and the message of the Holy Books of Thelema. Still, while personally, I've studied philosophy at university and in high school, but I'm not a philosopher. I don't have the skill really to engage with deep hermeneutics about the Holy Book of Thelema. Maybe other people do, and we should listen to what they have to say without the usual knee-jerk reaction of online Thelema. It's like, oh, well, you cannot tell me what the Book of the Law says because it's bad. Like, you should listen. Because, trust me, if you just started on a Thelemic path, you really don't know anything about what Thelema is about. And, I don't believe in people that are born enlightened. Maybe some people have it easier than other due to whatever chance of incarnation, but no one is born enlightened. In fact, the idea that you become enlightened as you discover your true will, and even the concept of becoming enlightened seems, I don't know, seems too new agey to me. So, discussing the Book of the Law, it's something that we should do more of it. Because there are points in the Book of the Law that can be very problematic, right? Chapter 3, which is the one that everybody in the alt-right Thelema loves. It's all about stamping the wretched and the weak. What does that mean? Does it mean that you have to be a fascist piece of shit? Or does it mean that maybe the wretched and the weak are our lower foibles and attitudes, things we need to get better at? There's a lot that we can interpret in the Book of the Law, and we should do more of that. I also think that, and this is something I've been discussed for a long time, I think we should enable more diverse voices, right? I'm here, like middle-aged white man, telling you about Thelema. I am one of many, right? Maybe I am like one of the most outspoken. I'm definitely not one of the best. I'm just a person with a bit of a social media platform, if you want to say that. Well, unfortunately, I think that for Thelema to really go to the next level and maybe leave a little bit of that hate behind, we need in times to have different people that look different than me across all the spectrum of all genders and all ages and all everything, right? Again, discussing with somebody on Twitter, they made a very good point, and it is like a lot of people that are not white white middle-aged men, they don't want the spotlight, and that has to be respected, right? That has to be respected as well. I made some errors myself over the last few years trying to push some female voices out, right? Some women out there, and maybe they didn't like the spotlight. Let's say they definitely didn't because they told me. So it has to be done in a gentler way that I've done so far. So, but it has to be done. It has to be like, so. For instance, I don't know, simple thing to do. If you see a known white male Thelemite out there speaking, don't speak on top of them. Give them space to say what they have to say. You don't have to agree. I'm not telling you that. I mean, I'm not telling you, and I don't believe that maybe they are absolutely right. But the idea is that just give different voices space to have to say what they have to say, because that is definitely one of the futures, one of the keys that Thelema can use to truly get out of the impasse we're experiencing right now. Because yes, I do think that we're experiencing an impasse. Let me see what's saying in the chat. Okay, Jason Marsh is asking, do you believe that one needs to accept the Book of the Law in its entirety to qualify as a Thelemite? I have recently noticed that some do, and I feel like Chapter 3 explains the Thelemic stereotypes. I think we just discussed this. Yes, I think there's only one qualifying point to call yourself a Thelemite. That is, like, you read the Book of the Law in its entirety and you accept it in its entirety. It doesn't mean that the Book of the Law has to be read literally, right? This is why maybe discussing, like trying to unpack the message, it's fundamental. I don't believe in any shape and form that the third chapter of the Book of the Law is fascist propaganda, as a lot of people have inferred, because it's a very violent chapter. I think there is a message, maybe not an alchemical message there, a message of transmutation, a message of understanding our lower expressions and learning how to put even those under control. Crowley stated that 90% of Thelema is about self-control, and that's it, really. Thelema is a lot about learning who you are and having control over who you are. This also doesn't mean, by the way, to end up in. You will see a lot of people, especially on the alt-right Thelema front, that will repeat pretty much, Jordan Peterson-like bullshit about, well, you like if you get angry, you lost control, and if you lost control, you're not a Thelemite. There's a space for anger. There's a space for fire in Thelema. Ra-Hoor-Khuit is a god of vengeance, after all. So there is a space for those kind of feelings, but there is not. You still have to learn how to control them. That's the point. And if you control them, you can decide to direct anger and fire at whoever is worthy of those reactions of yours. So another question that I got today was if I could actually run down, present a little bit of all the various organizations that are out there. I guess I don't know, maybe this will need me to write it down, but I think this was somebody on Twitter called Pax Joffrey. I don't know if you're in the chat. If you're in the chat, good to see you. So, first and foremost, the biggest organization you will hear about is Ordo Templi Orientis, or OTO. I was a member of OTO, not a member anymore, and I wrote about why in my articles that you can find on Medium, or you can find in the description below. You'll find it anyway. Ordo Templi Orientis is still the biggest group you can join, public group you can join. I also think it's the group you should never join. If I could go back in time, I would save myself wasting 10 years of my life in when it turned out to be was a cult-like Ponzi scheme, pretty much. There is this idea that the OTOs, has secrets of magic that can teach you. I often said that if you Google hard enough and use a little bit of discernment, you will find all the secrets of every order ever. Does it mean you will understand what you find in those documents that are freely found on the internet these days? Maybe not, but that only means that you will just have to apply yourself a little bit harder and study. So really, joining the OTO, it's pointless. And this is why I was running the poll. Let me see what the poll is saying. So, are you interested in joining a magical order? Well, yes, 35%, no, 29%, depends, 35%. I think that's pretty much so those of you who wrote yes, who voted yes, I would be interested in hearing more as to why what do you think you can find in a magical order? Because if you're looking for community, camaraderie, sharing this weird interest with other people like you, there's better ways of doing it these days, right? There are plenty of communities online, that can move from online into meeting in real life, right? The problem with magical orders is that once they had something to teach, right? Because everything we're discussing like online these days was secret, in the sense was not accessible. Now everything is accessible, and when I say everything, please believe me. I've been a member of OTO. I am a member of AA. I've been a member of other groups. I am a Freemason still. I've been around. I've never found anything truly secret that could not be found if you search hard enough. So that part is gone, right? What you're left is, the group of friends. But then again, why would you want to get yourself into a pyramid scheme of hierarchy that always, my experience is that hierarchy always breeds some sort of abuse from above. There is like, I would say, for instance, in UGLE Freemasonry, which is the Freemasonry I belong to right now, that kind of abuse from above doesn't happen. But because Freemasonry here in the UK, it's so big, and I would say in the US as well, pretty much everywhere, it's so big that unless you decide to become like a career Freemason, which then again implies you going through all the same things that you would have to do if you want to make, to craft yourself a career into any corporate environment. Like, unless you want to do that, you will never be, harassed or bullied by the top leadership. Smaller groups like the OTO is minuscule, by the way, maybe 2,000 people worldwide, maybe less now. The smaller it is, the worse the hierarchy, nepotism becomes, right? So I wouldn't go there, right? So there's really nothing there that a magical order can give you. Let me see here. Jason is still asking, I feel like the online environment is limited. For instance, can this astral initiation truly replace old school initiations? There's only one initiation, which is the initiation with the Holy Guardian Angel. The Holy Guardian Angel is the true initiator, and the Holy Guardian Angel is the true teacher. Everything else is something that you do in order to get closer to understand what it means to receive that sort of experience with the Holy Guardian Angel. So what I call formal initiations, which is like, I don't know, going through the degrees of Freemasonry, the degrees of the OTO, the degrees of SRIA. I'm going to tell you something about SRIA right now. Well, those are just pageantry. It's something where it's something that's done to you so that you can start having an idea of what you should do on your own in the chamber of your own holy temple that you should build inside your heart. It's quite different. So basically, I don't know, do we need these initiations? I went through many of them. Were they beautiful? Yes. Were they powerful? Very few. Very few were powerful, and it really depends heavily on who initiates you. If you're lucky enough to have an initiator that has the magical link with the current, with the egregore, well, you will feel something. But many of those who become initiators, for instance in the OTO, but also in SRIA, well, they're just there because people needed bums on seat, and that's it. So it's really a lottery. Like you may end up becoming very lucky and finding, I don't know, the perfect group of people that can give you like the best initiation ever. Still, that's not the true initiation. That is something. Those are like, it's almost like I don't know, like a how-to manual, a 3D how-to manual that show you what you should start thinking and what you start understanding to go and then close the gap with the Holy Guardian Angel so that the Holy Guardian Angel can truly initiate you. So that's a good point. So what do I think of SRIA? SRIA, Societas Rosicruciana in Anglia, is, for those of you who don't know, one of those progressive orders in Freemasonry that you can only access after you become a Master Mason, and there's various things that you should various boxes you should tick before you can get to SRIA. My experience with SRIA has been abysmally bad, and the reason is that in 2017 I went to an exhibition at the Library of Freemasonry at United Lodge of England here in London. An exhibition of all the Golden Dawn original manuscript, the cipher manuscripts, the roll of members, many other things, which are were in possession of SRIA. Beautiful exhibition. Over there, I met with a man called Alistair Lees, which was at the time the Grand Secretary, and they were recruiting. In December 2017, I received an email from Alistair Lees, asking me if I was interested, still interested, because we discussed about it on the day a few months before, and just to send him, compile a form. And so I did, with Alistair Lees as my proposer. And then I got initiated into the Zelator degree at Duke Street, 10 Duke Street, where, they have their temple, beautiful. And John Paternoster, which at the time was the Supreme Magus, it is like the worldwide leader, was present, looking very bored and very almost like nodding off during the ritual. The ritual was done very well, but it was nothing I haven't seen before. Not because I read the SRA rituals, I didn't, but let's say that it's if you're a Freemason, you've been there through that before, right? There are some differences, but there's the core of the kernel of the ritual is the same. And I would say the kernel of every Masonic-like ritual is always the same. You kind of are like a talisman, and things are done to you. Now, fast forward some months, like in September 2018, so 9 months later, after I attended the study group of SRIA in Amstead a couple of times, I received a letter dated 31st of September, it's not a thing, addressed to Mario Visconti instead of a Marco Visconti, again from Alistair Lees, saying that unfortunately my petition was not accepted and they would refund the money of my fee. For the next 2 years, well, up until a year and a half, alongside other people that are now running Metropolitan College in SRIA, we tried to figure out what the hell was that, because I got initiated. Like I have the summons, I have this, I have everything, right? I got initiated. Well, what happened there is that they they decided that as a Thelemite, I could not join it. Now, somebody will say that the SRIA is a Christian order, like you have to profess a Trinitarian faith to join SRIA. A good number of people that are members of SRIA, they're not Christians. Trinitarian faith can be and has been.
Okay. Oh, I found this on the web for a good number of people have members of the.
There you go. Like we had Siri asking us about things. Let me put Siri down. So anyway, a good number of people that are member of SRIA right now presented their Trinitarian faith from an alchemical standpoint. And what I've heard is that there's some interest, there's some voices out there, might be wrong, that are going to remove the Trinitarian faith requirement to become a member of SRIA, and also of other orders that require the Trinitarian faith label. Mostly because a lot of people are not joining anymore because of that. So, long story short, these people knew exactly who I was. I spoke with them about Thelema, and I spoke with them about my understanding of Trinitarian faith from a strictly alchemical perspective. There was no problem. And then all of a sudden there was a problem. And this happened actually after I left the OTO, and I wrote the reason why I left the OTO. Were there politics involved? Maybe. I really believe that, anyway, an order that initiates somebody and then pretty much ask you, well, please, let's pretend it never happened. And then they will also say, we will refund you your money. And they never did. I don't really think it's an order that has any, I mean, like I said, would you want to join something like that? Is that something serious? Now, to be very honest with you, since that happened, John Paternoster, Alistair Lees, all that old guard retired. And the people that are running Metropolitan College #1 right now are much better people. Still, they really do things, let's say, in a non-Thelemic way. By that I mean that, of course, SRA is not Thelemic, but by that I mean like they really look after, towing the party line. And long story short, that's my experience with SRA. So what do I think of it? I don't know. It's it doesn't gave me any good experience, right? I haven't seen in it anything that I haven't seen before. Allegedly, I only saw the first degree, Zelator. I don't know. Is there any magic in there? Is there any magic in, these old, stuffy lodges of old men and men only that think that writing about the meaning of the Rose Cross is what magic is? I don't know, right? I mean, I like it from an aesthetic perspective. Do I think it's magic? No, I don't. Magic for me, it's something very different, and that means trying to talk to God directly, like manifest the divine into a room where you can mostly see it. That's what I'm more interested in. Let me see here. In response regarding initiation, you mentioned a while ago of being initiated by Berthiaud. Do you feel that you could have gained that experience without meeting him? Michael Berthiaud has been an important person in my magical career, and it's definitely been pivotal in the sense that he was the one who made me see magic from a completely different standpoint. The systems of Michael Berthiaud are absolutely unique, and I would say that you cannot understand them unless you work with somebody that has gone through them with a mentor, right? And this is something else I want to say. Having a mentor is fundamental. We live in, you know that this might be paradoxical given what I just told you. You can find everything online. You don't need to join an order. But when I say you don't need to join an order, it's because, again, orders don't really have anything that they can offer you anymore, because most of the times they don't really offer you mentors. Because, I mean, that was the experience, for instance, in OTO, where everybody was like, oh, well, you should figure these things for yourself. What we offer is just a community where you can come here once a month, twice a month, and go to the pub together afterwards. What do you really need, I would say, to really progress in your magical path is somebody who's done it before you and can tell you, not so much as like, listen to me as a guru. You don't need a guru. Gurus are as bad as magical orders, right? Because again, the guru or the master implies an idea of strict hierarchy. Like, you need to listen to me and you need to do what I tell you blindly. While there could be a good point being made that it's good to have some sort of humility when you approach magical training, you should never just blindly follow a teacher, right? Because that's cultish and that's bad. And there's no way I can... It's cultish, it's bad. Just stay with that. However, having a tutor, having a mentor, it's fundamental. Because... And in that sense, Michael Berthiaud was a mentor for me. So could I have had the experience I had without meeting him? Possibly not. So that's very valid. But you also have to understand that then I never really engaged with this magical order system, right? Maybe because the person that was here in running it for a time in Europe, David Beth, was a person with ties with the far right, and I didn't want to have anything to do with him. It's not there anymore, thankfully. And the people that are actually running it now, like Sean Woodward or Kyle Feit, are great. But I never cared about that because I already had my mentorship relationship. And that was very valid. So I guess we need to get to a point where we must understand that, number one, knowledge is out there. Pretty much unfettered. You can get it if you look hard enough. You might not make sense of it, and so you should really try and find a mentor. Knowing that this mentor cannot be your master or your guru, because and by guru I really mean the way the way this word has been perverted here in the West. Because you really need to find a way of striking a balance between listening to somebody that's been there before and just going with what feels right for you. And I would say that every kind of mentorship that you might strike with somebody, it should always be open-ended. Or you could have somebody telling you, well, you should work on this for 6 months, 1 year. But maybe after one year is really like the longest I feel you should be with one mentor. And then you should move maybe with someone else. Because if not, other kind of interpersonal relationships are formed and they tend to become a little bit cultish and a little bit, abusive. Even if done in the best of ways, right? Or maybe you just become lazy. And maybe also your mentor becomes lazy because you get to know each other too well, and then maybe they don't. They become too lenient as you stop doing the work, or maybe you just don't report as much because you think they're your friend. You know what I mean, right? So long story short, find a mentor. Don't bother with the magical orders. In real life experiences are very important, but trust me, online experiences are very valid as well. And and I guess that's all. I mean, I've been ranting forever. What's up in here? Melissa is saying also academic inbreeding, fresh ideas are always good. Exactly, absolutely. I guess like everybody who's been on my Patreon for the last 2 years, I've been telling you forever this. A lot of you that were like, I can see some here like Melissa. Like I always said, like if you like on the top tier where you get to listen when I become your mentor for a while, like we do this for 1 year and then that's it. That's done. Some people done less than 1 year, right? And that's fine as well. You need fresh ideas at some point. You need different perspectives. And again, you won't find different perspective if you join a magical order, because a magical order is a pyramid scheme that tries to perpetuate itself again and again and again and again. I think the time for that is over because times have changed. And I would say also because all my experience in magical orders have been bad, but hey, that's me. All right. Almost 1 hour. Jesus. How do I run so much all the time? Do we have any final questions? Because if we don't, I'm just going to say, if we don't, that's it. So I'm going to end the poll. The final poll is 36% wins with depends. And I think that's fine, right? I don't know. Maybe it could be good. Maybe you could find a way where you have you could find a perfect magical order. I don't know. One final question. Do you not think that this 1 year idea could lead to logistical issues with the AA system? Why? First of all, I never say that I believe the AA system is valid. I am a member. I mean, I'm an aspirant. Sorry, that's the way you should present yourself. Apparently nowadays, the AA really is the Thelemic approach to this. Finding your connection with the Holy Guardian Angel. The superior of the AA, the mentor, right, should lead you to that point, should lead you to Dominus Liminis, which is, the veil of Paraket, the gate to Tiferet. Once you have the knowledge and conversation with the Holy Guardian Angel, which, if you study hard enough, you can get there in that time frame. Of course, the problem is that we live very busy lives, and that's not always possible. I would say it's not really possible anymore. But, like logistically, not really. Do I think that the system, do I think that the AA is maybe the best order? We need to really start facing the reality that the AA, it's another of Crowley's myths, right? It never really worked. It's a beautiful idea. I don't believe that any current lineage of the AA, temporal lineage of the AA, I should say, has any, I would say any, like, 100% validity as it should be in the foundation documents, right? Not even mine. And by the way, as I said many times, mine is not a famous one. Don't believe that there are only 2 or 3 major, or even 4 major lineages of the AA. There are plenty. And there's always been like this, and it always will be like this. So, do I think that, that could create like logistical issues? I don't think so, because if you find a good mentor that can guide you through the work of the AA, and if you approach the AA as you should, and that means like having done all the third order work on your own, pretty much. Let's not fool ourselves to think that the AA, at least that's where let's reformulate. What I think is to believe that you really could start the AA, as a student and then probationer, etc., etc., etc. I think it's ridiculous, right? Because that was Crowley's idea to try and pretty much sell the idea of Thelema. it's not really happening like that anymore. Like once you're presented with the student exam right now in the AA, they do tell you, well, if you were to fully answer all these questions, like you would be an adeptus exemptus, like the higher degree before crossing the abyss. And of course, there's no expectation that you get the student examination all right. And it's also an open book exam, right? It can be done over 3 months, even more, etc., etc. But the point is that the AA is so much more than intellectual practice. Not only you really should know, have a very good understanding of all the syllabus, which, by the way, it's very outdated. There's a lot of it that I think should, I think that the syllabus of the AA should be rewritten or expanded at least. But it's also the fact that where's all the actual magical practices there? Crowley really thought that a lot of the people that were approaching the AA was we're coming from the Golden Dawn training before. So is that system even work? I don't think it's a good system. Really, I don't. I might be wrong. I'm Alpha Nam. So, final question from Diverse Design. What's your opinion on a 20-year-old selling Crossing the Abyss on her Patreon? She didn't. Come on, she didn't sell Crossing. I think she was joking, and I think that a lot of the people that a lot of the occult influencers kind of type, they say outlandish things because they have no clues what they're talking about. They've never done any sort of real magical work, and what they're trying to do is get engagement. Right? Have you seen like the thumbnail for this live stream? It was clickbait because it works on YouTube. That's what I think this person was doing. 21-year-old on Patreon, they're not magicians. Maybe they will be one day. Maybe not. What they're doing right now, they're marketers. They sell marketing. And it's interesting that they sell it to a very specific demographic. That is very sad simps that can be found on 4chan. But anyway, I guess that's another example that we live in the Kali Yuga. On that note, I think that's all for now. Thank you for being with me tonight, and I will see you on the next live stream. Do what the will shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love and the will.